Hi everyone, I'm Mike and this is the Sunday Art Show. So this week I've got something a little bit different compared to what I normally do on the channel. You can see it's a still life painting painted in acrylic of a couple of pumpkins, some carnival squash and a rather unusual light blue coloured pumpkin. So the weather here has turned a bit autumnal, starting to rain a lot more, it's getting darker, and so I wanted to do a painting to kind of bring some cheer into the house. So the idea behind this still life painting is to create something colourful and with a sense of light, and as I said, a little bit cheery. So you can see I'm working away with a brush, and the drawing was done with a brush as well, with an arrangement of these pumpkins and squash, which is partly referenced from some pumpkins that we bought the other day, and some squash as well, but also a little bit from my imagination too. And I'm actually working on canvas this time. Normally I work on mixed media paper, but I thought I'd give canvas a go. And so I started off with a wide brush, as you saw earlier, and there's one of the pumpkins that inspired the painting. And I just put down some very thin translucent washes of different colours. But what I'm doing now is applying the paint rather more thickly to block in, the main subject of the painting. And then my plan is to, in amongst the pumpkins, in around on the background, is put lots of fallen autumnal leaves of different colours. But I want to keep that translucence in the background and the lighter washes to contrast with the squash, the carnival squash you can see there, and the pumpkin and the blue pumpkin, and kind of have those sort of two different tonal areas and thicknesses of paint. Now, for the cast shadow that you can see I just put down there, I'm using a combination of those two thicknesses. So a translucent region and a thicker region as well. And having outlined some of these leaves just kind of scattered on the ground, as I said, painted from imagination, I'm now using this purple to pick out some imagined cast shadows and just kind of outline some of the leaves a little bit. And having done that, I'm now coming in again over the dried background with a translucent yellow to colour in just some of those leaves. Some I'll leave just as a pure outline with the background showing through. Others I'll colour in, but they'll all be near transparent, so that some of those background shadows and line work and the initial wash will show through. So you can see I've incorporated different shapes of leaves here. I've got a rather simple leaf just below the big orange pumpkin, and then a bumpy edged leaf here that I'm working on at the moment, and then just underneath the carnival squash there above my brush, I can't remember what type of leaf that is, but you can see it's a three-pronged leaf, and I've got various other ones around as well. Now the pumpkin is, it's quite a simple shape, but there are lots of colours in there. We'll come on to that in a moment. But having kind of filled in the colours of the leaves, I'm now just darkening certain regions to up the contrast a little bit. But like I said, I want this background to be much more gently treated than the main objects. So I'm working on the patterning now of the carnival squash, and they've got a very interesting colour scheme actually, because you can see there's kind of a little orangey yellows in there, there's greens, bluey greens, and kind of bluey whites as well. So, quite an interesting subject to paint. And the contrast between those darker bluey greens that I'm putting in now and the orangey yellows is really what gives it its vibrant look. So I'm just working with a synthetic round brush here. And really this painting for me is just about, a little bit of experimentation and, letting my imagination run, not wild, but just, a little bit free, so that I'm not worried too much about capturing an exact replica of the pumpkins and squash that I've got, but just trying to create an interesting image really, and almost with a slight, I wouldn't say fantasy edge, but it's kind of an air of, can't quite think of the word for the moment. I'll come back to that. So while I was chatting away there, you can see on the stalk I've put in a few details, and I'm just using a translucent glaze of purple for the cast shadow across the top of the pumpkin, and now I'm using that same glaze on the stalk of the pumpkin as well. And it's one of the great things with the interactives is, they're so adaptable. You can put down these thin, almost watercolour washes, and even when the paint's dry, you can lift off some of that with a damp paper towel or damp brush. Then you can put it down thicker. Now this one is a previous still life I did with a little sheep peeking out from behind the fruit. So it's kind of, I like to play around with my still life paintings once in a while. And so this one isn't going to be quite as surreal as that one, but I want to, you know, get this sort of air of, I guess it is almost the fantastical. I can't think of a better word. So I've speeded things up a little bit here. You can see I've darkened some of the background with a darker green, and I'm just kind of warming up some of the colours. So I felt the stalk of the main pumpkin was a little too cold, so I've made it more of a golden yellow now. Working on the stalk of the carnival squash there on the left. Coming in with my small round brush to enhance some of the detailed work. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at my reference photo, I'm looking at the real pumpkin I've still got on the table there. I'm kind of looking at the painting as a whole. Now some of the highlights I put down on the painting, I made them far too blue on the pumpkin, and they looked almost like the pumpkin was bruised. Not the effect I wanted at all. There were some slight hints of blue in the highlight, but I took it far too far. So I just decided to simplify things dramatically for this main pumpkin. Make the highlight a mixture of the alizarin crimson and titanium white, and just go with a much simpler treatment to make it more of almost a storybook pumpkin, if you like. And so what I was doing there was working wet in wet with the interactive acrylics. So even though the paint's quite thick, I can spray the paint with water and work wet in wet, just like I'm doing now, almost as if you're using oil. And having used some of that purple for the shadowy region, just kind of adding some of it around certain areas in the background to enhance the contrast. I do end up lifting off some of that patch of purple at the top centre of the painting. But next I've switched back to my very small round brush, and I'm just using that to pick out little details just with pure blue, and also to enhance little areas of the edges of the fruit. So just, you know, these colours aren't there, but I'm just kind of selectively picking out little vibrant lines to either correct my drawing or enhance it. And I'm going to switch that colour as well in a moment to a purple. So again, I'm kind of playing with the colour scheme, playing with the drawing, and just playing with the overall design to hopefully create something that I haven't done before, at least, you know, a kind of a feel of something that I haven't done before. That's kind of what I'm aiming for. So here you can see I can lift off some of that thin layer of the purple by the stalk of the main pumpkin. Even though it was dry, I can just use a damp paper towel to just lift some of that off and soften things a little bit. So very, very flexible, this interactive acrylic. So here's some of the delicate leaf work you can see in the painting, and that contrasts very much with the stronger painted treatment I've given to the squash and the pumpkins. And there's the finished painting. So I feel I've caught something of an autumnal sunshine sense of light in this painting, so I'm really quite happy with that, and the colours, and it is bright and cheery, which is very much what I was going for. So hopefully a nice decorative piece. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little video. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you next Sunday for the next episode of the Sunday Art Show. Thanks very much for watching.